Welcome into Legal Access, brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. We get together each and every Thursday at this time to give you access to different aspects of the law. Today we're going to be talking about workers' compensation. If you've been hurt on the job or have a loved one who has and have any questions about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, or if you're an employer or a business manager or an on-site manager and you want to know what you should do in case one of your employees gets hurt, today is the day to give us a call. Phone number's on your screen, 843-848-8080. Give us a call as workers' compensation is our topic here today. On our panel to answer those questions for you, first of all, from the O'Neill Law Firm is Josh Koshin.
Thanks for having me.
And in addition to workers' compensation, O'Neill Law Firm works with what other kind of law?
We do a lot of civil cases, car wrecks, wrongful death. We also do some criminal defense. Obviously, being in Myrtle Beach, we do a good bit of DUI defense. So.
Right.
But workers' comp
What are you saying about Myrtle Beach? That a lot of drunkards in Myrtle Beach?
Well, a lot of tourists come down here to have fun, and so we've built a decent DUI practice. So.
And from the Maguire Law Firm, Mike Smith is here. And Mike, appreciate you being here. And in addition to workers' compensation, Maguire Law works in what other aspects?
We do personal injury as well, and that's our primary focus. We do auto accidents, premises liability, things of that nature.
So yeah, we're well equipped to answer all of your questions today about workers' compensation. Please feel free to give us a call. You've got 30 minutes left to give us a call, which is a lot of time, but don't wait till the last couple of minutes. 843-848-8080 is our phone number. All right, you've been hurt on the job. What is your first responsibilities as a worker as far as going to your employer and letting them know something happened?
Well, Dave, the law requires you to report an injury within 90 days to a supervisor. You're not allowed to do it to a coworker or a friend or anybody like that. You have to report it to a supervisor. I would say your best practice would be to report it as soon as possible and do it in writing, so then there's no questions about that deadline.
Right.
And I will tell you, Dave, that the in writing part is important because the employer is not going to want to cover each and every claim that it pops up. So make sure that it is in writing if you possibly can.
So is the employer going to give you any kind of hassle, or are they going to help you out, or are they going to be the people involved in trying to get an ambulance for you if you need one, or looking after your medical care?
Well, typically employers in South Carolina that carry workers' compensation insurance, they will report the claim to the insurance company. They'll usually fill out a first report of injury. A lot of people that call up to my law firm, they're always worried about getting fired. That is illegal in South Carolina. You cannot take a retaliatory action and fire somebody for reporting an injury. Of course, we're in a right to work state, so you could be fired for other reasons, but just for filing an injury claim, you can't do that. An employer can't do that.
I'm sorry, a lot of times too, Dave, the employer will have its own doctor that it will refer you to.
Right.
So even though you may have your own family doctor that you've gone to for years, the employer's doctor is typically a doctor's care, urgent care type facility that they want you to report to. And a lot of these cases, they'll want you to get blood work done pretty quickly and things of that nature as well. So be prepared for that.
And a lot of that is written in, not so much as the workers' comp law, but it's written into the employer's policy where they require you to take a tox screen. If you're a CDL driver and you get in a work-related wreck, that's typically something that they'll do. There's other occupations where they require that as well. But the one thing, like Mike said, that the caveat of workers' comp is you get covered and you get your medical expenses paid by your employer or their insurance carrier, but they have to pick the doctors. You can't just go to your family doctor or whoever you want to. They have to tell you where to go.
Well, what if you have like a soft tissue injury or something that's not really visible, like a broken bone or bleeding profusely, and you go to their doctor and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, but can you get a second opinion? Yeah,
you can request a second opinion. In my experience, that is sometimes comes with a little bit of pushback from the insurance company, and that may be a point in time where they don't want to cover you anymore. Hey, this doctor said you're good to go, you don't have any issues, and you may have to go and consult a lawyer to fight that decision.
And sometimes, Dave, what I've seen is that you'll have, for example, a knee issue. And that knee issue will be addressed early on, and then as a result of limping or favoring that knee, you'll develop a hip issue. And sometimes the comp doctors do not want to cover that hip issue because you didn't complain about it immediately, and you'll need that second opinion, if you will, or assistance from your attorney to try to get that second opinion, to get that second area covered as well.
And is along the same lines with like a knee issue or maybe a back issue or like a wrist or carpal tunnel, I mean, if that's work related, how do you prove that? I mean, it seems like that would be tough to draw a line back to. It's like, okay, well, this guy has a back issue because of the work that he does.
Well, you got to get a real good history. You want to figure out what are their work duties, what are their repetitive movements that they do that could cause this, and ultimately to prove the claim, you're going to need a medical opinion from a doctor. And I said before, you are kind of going with the employer's doctors and they're sending you to whoever, but when you get to a lawyer, sometimes they'll send you to their doctor or a doctor of their choosing to evaluate you. The caveat with that is you're going to have to pay that out of pocket, or the attorney is going to have to incur the cost up front. So in these repetitive type claims, you generally want to look at, like I said, what are their work duties, what kind of repetitive movements are they doing, to try to take that to the doctor and then get the doctor to render that opinion that it is related.
Again, with doctors, I mean, if a doctor says that you're at MMI or maximum medical improvement and you're ready to go back to work, but you don't feel that you are, what kind of recourse do you have?
Well, like we talked about before, you can ask for a second opinion. You can go and see another doctor. You can go to the lawyer, and a lawyer will set you up with another doctor to do an evaluation, answer some questions about any additional medical treatment that you need, because once the employer's doctor puts you at MMI or maximum medical improvement, they're going to try to shut the case down. So a lot of times we get people come in and talk to us at that point.
Right. You're talking about going to a lawyer. What are some of the things that if somebody says, well, I can handle workers' compensation by myself, and legally you can, but if somebody wants to do that by themselves, what are some of the things, the roadblocks that they're going to run into that they won't be able to handle?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I meet with someone is, did you meet all the deadlines? You got 2 years to file a claim with the South Carolina Workers' Compensation Commission. You got 90 days, like I said earlier, to report it to the employer. 90 days seems like a long time, and so that's kind of what I would consider a claimant or injured worker friendly part of the law. I would report it way sooner, but did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah. I was just
I think you
basically
asked me something else.
just trying to say, you know, what kind of things are people going to run into when they try to deal with the insurance companies that they don't think that they're not going to be prepared for?
The other big part of it is proven wages and how much you made, and then also I would say trying to prove the relationship between work and the injury. Those are the biggest hurdles I often see, and so
I was going to say, Josh, tell the audience about the wages. What percentage of your normal take-home pay do you get in workers' comp?
right. So you look at your gross average weekly wage, and when I say gross, I mean before taxes. So if you were making $1,200 a week on average before taxes, then you would be compensated at 2/3 of that rate. So you would be making $800 a week. There are some exceptions if you make a lot of money. The 2025 maximum compensation rate, I want to say, is over $1,100, a little over that.
Right.
So if you make, $2,000, you're not going to be making whatever 2/3 of that is, 1266 or something like that. You'd only be making
I was told there's no math.
1,100.
I'm sorry.
No math.
I mean, you're talking about if you're making $1,200 a week, you're probably going to be doing a second job. I mean, if you get hurt on job A, are you going to be able to, have workers' compensation from job A, but still get wages from job B that you're not going to be able to work?
Yeah, so the workers' compensation law factors in any other employment that you have. So if you're only making $600 a week on job 1, but you're also making $400 part-time on job 2, then your average weekly wage would be $1,000. And again, that's before taxes.
Right. Tell you what, we're going to run to a break here real quick. When we get back, we would love to talk to you if you have any questions about workers' compensation, whether you've been hurt on the job or you know somebody who has, or whether you're a manager or a business owner and you want to find out what your responsibilities are. Today is the day to give us a call. Phone number's on your screen. Don't wait. Give us a call, and we'll talk to you in just a second here on Legal Access, being brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access. We're talking about workers' compensation here today. That's our topic. If you have any questions about workers' comp, either from a worker or a business owner standpoint, give us a call here today. The phone number's on your screen, 843-848-8080. And joining us here on our panel, in addition to Josh Koshin and Mike Smith, also from the O'Neill Law Firm is Rick O'Neill. So again, we're well equipped to answer any questions that you have about workers' compensation. Now, is workers' compensation available for any accident that you have while doing your normal duties, or are there anything that's excluded?
Rick, you want to take this one?
Well, there is a category of an injury on the job that is not covered. That's called an idiopathic injury. So let's just say you have a trick knee and your knee gives out while on the job. That's generally not going to be covered unless there's some connection with employment. You're walking up and down the stairs, your leg hits a place where the carpet meets the flooring, something like that. There's got to be some nexus with employment. But generally, 99% of job injuries are covered if the employer is also covered by workers' comp.
And the other one that comes to mind, my first thought was your employer has some defenses. So if you're intoxicated on the job, that's a huge defense that we would be really worried about in trying to bring a claim. So
The other words that come to my mind are horseplay and fighting. Are those definitely would, even though they happen at work potentially?
yeah, I mean, typically those type of things are still covered. It doesn't matter if it is the fault of your employer or the fault of the injured worker or just nobody's fault. It's just an accident. It's a work accident. It's typically covered.
But if there's, you have on a lunch break, you have two employees, practicing karate out on the loading dock, that's definitely going to raise a big defense, and
Right.
probably they're not going to cover the claim.
Well, fellas, you guys are the experts in workers' comp. What about traveling to and from the job, either to and from your house or to and from lunch? If you're injured in a motor vehicle accident, for example, going to and from work or on your lunch hour, is that covered under workers' comp?
Generally, going to and from work in your own personal vehicle is not going to be covered. If you're doing some type of errand, you're going to pick up some supplies on the way to work or make a bank deposit after work, after you've clocked out. If there's some connection with employment, you're going to be covered. Now, if you have a employer-supplied vehicle, or if a construction crew, they come and pick up members of the crew, that would be covered. So as long as there's some connection with employment, you can probably get coverage. But just simply in your private vehicle, you've clocked out and you're on the way home, that's not going to be covered.
Well, what if the guy you're riding with and you're on the job and you're heading from one construction site to the next, and the guy you're riding with runs a red light and it's his fault in the accident? Do you have a separate claim against the driver for running the red light?
There is a legal concept called the fellow servant rule that generally you're not going to be able to bring a separate civil claim against a coworker. So, two police officers are at a bank robbery and one officer shoots the other officer by mistake. You're probably going to be, your sole remedy is going to be the workers' compensation benefits.
Now, one thing that I've noticed in handling cases that are in workers' comp is that if there's a third party that caused that motor vehicle accident, then you can bring that third party action against John Doe that was at fault in the accident.
Right, that's called a third party claim. So just, some stranger runs into your work vehicle, not only are you going to have a workers' compensation claim, but you're also going to have just a regular third party personal injury claim. Now, earlier, Dave was asking about why you should get a lawyer or consult with a lawyer. Those type of cases are more complicated. There's certain deadlines and nuances when you're handling those side-by-side claims that you really need to sit down and talk to a lawyer about timing, when to bring the claims, and when to settle one claim over the other.
And Josh, if you bring a case like that, is it better to wait until the workers' comp is resolved, number one, and number two, if workers' comp has been paying medical bills and wages, are they going to want to get paid back from that third-party claim?
Yeah, so the answer to your first question is you should make both claims at the same time, but you shouldn't settle the you shouldn't settle the automobile portion of the claim, the third-party claim, before the workers' comp claim, because you may be excluded from getting any compensation from the workers' compensation claim. And yes, anything that the workers' comp insurance company or their employer pay out, they're going to want to get reimbursed for dollar on what they paid. Now, sometimes when you're dealing with the third-party claim, you can negotiate whatever they recover, and hopefully they'll work with you, especially if it's a very cost-consuming claim that you're bringing against a third party.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of remote work that's been done over the past several years because of COVID and then just after that. What if somebody gets hurt while working at home? How tough is that to prove that it's a work-related injury?
It can be argued and can be covered. There are successful claims from working at home. Again, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. You're going to have to show some connection with your work, or were you actually doing work at that time? Or was this, your child was coming home got off the bus and you're out there helping them get back inside? That argument is going to be stronger than if you're sitting at your computer and the chair breaks and you fall down and injure your neck.
Our phone lines are open if you have any questions about workers' compensation. 843-848-8080 is our phone number. What about 1099 or part-time workers? Do they still have the same access to workers' compensation?
Well, it depends. It's the favorite two words that lawyers string together, it depends. There is a nuanced area of the law where you have to prove certain things, and you may not actually be an independent contractor, a 1099 employee. You may actually be what we call a statutory employee of an employer. When I sit down with people and they say, well, I got a 1099, do I have any chance of making a claim? I ask them several questions. Number one is, do you have any type of control over the type of work you do, or do you have somebody, telling you to be at a certain place at a certain time? How are you getting paid? Who's taking you to the job? Whose tools are you using? Are you getting paid in a big lump sum, or are you getting paid weekly?
Right.
Some of those factors you take into consideration to determine if somebody is an independent contractor, and in that case may not be able to get any coverage through workers' comp, versus if they are what we call a statutory employee and they get coverage.
Now, we already talked about the fact that you would get 2/3 of your average weekly wage until you reach maximum medical improvement. What if you never reach MMI? How long can workers' compensation pay go on?
Generally, in most claims, except the most catastrophic, there's 10 years of benefits. And then after that, your weekly disability benefits are going to end. If you certain back claims, or just if you have several different body parts that are injured, the commission can award you just total disability benefits, and those benefits are for life.
You mentioned impairments and disabilities. Are those things the same?
No. Impairment rating is normally something that a doctor would give you, and there's a handbook that they use that tells them how to rate different parts of your body with a percentage of loss. But then in workers' comp, you get compensated in the end on the disability percentage or loss of use of that. So a doctor could give you 30% impairment to the back, but a workers' comp commission hearing could award you 60% to the back. So there's an overlap in a relationship of those, but they're two separate terms.
As far as rating different parts of your body, make sure to talk to HR first, or you might get in trouble. I'm just saying. I tell you what, we're going to be back with our last segment in just a second. If you have any questions about workers' compensation, you got like less than 10 minutes to give us a call, so don't wait to the very last minute. We might not be able to fit you in. Call us now. The number's on your screen. It's Legal Access, being brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access brought to you by the Maguire Law Firm. If you have any questions, we got a little under 5-6 minutes left. We should be able to fit you in. 848-8080 is the phone number on the panel to answer those questions. From the O'Neill Law Firm is Josh Koshin and also Rick O'Neill on the end. And in the middle from the Maguire Law Firm is Mike Smith. Again, the phone number's on your screen. Let's go to Rich in Myrtle Beach right now. Rich, hi, thanks for calling up and hanging on through the break. What's your question today?
Yes, I have got hurt back up north, and I came down here, and I went to a doctor to see about getting my knee fixed, and it seems as though they don't want to touch anything here that happened out of state.
Right. That's a common problem because it is a state-by-state system, workers' comp. So one of the issues is the medical providers are set up with the billing systems for state-specific workers' comp systems. So that's probably one hurdle that your particular doctor just doesn't have the staffing or the software or the knowledge on how to bill the claim out of state. On a case like yours, what normally you may need to get either your lawyer, if you had one back in your home state, or a lawyer locally, to get on the phone with the adjuster and let them know about the problem. I'll tell you that normally it's a big delay, but eventually the insurance company should be able to find a doctor locally that will agree to take the case and bill the insurance company. But that is a hurdle once you move from one state to the other.
And also, Rich, most attorneys for workers' comp cases will work on a contingency and will give you free consultations. So if you have any questions about this, don't wait, like Rick was saying. Call somebody back in your home state and find out how to move forward before it goes any longer. Because like we found out, you need to let somebody know as quickly as possible, so you don't want to wait on that. So thanks for calling. Appreciate that. If you have any last-minute questions, we might be able to fit you in before the end of the show in about 3 or 4 minutes. What kind of employers need compensation, workers' compensation insurance? Not everybody needs it, but who does?
Let me add on to that.
Yeah.
What happens if an employer doesn't have workers' compensation insurance?
Well, typically, if you have 4 or more regular employees, South Carolina requires you to have workers' compensation insurance. If you don't have that many employees, then you may not be an employee may not be able to make a claim against you through workers' comp, but they could sue you directly.
And if your employer should have been carrying workers' comp insurance and they didn't, there is an uninsured employers fund where you can still make the claim, and that fund will act as an insurance company for your claim. In a case like that, you probably need to coordinate that with an attorney to represent you. They're complicated.
Right.
So 4 more employees, but what if it's you've got your own job, you've got like a roofing business, you work out of your garage, you and one other person, that's your entire company. Can you have comp insurance on yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, and we recommend if you do have insurance, don't exempt yourself, don't opt out. Include yourself. We've heard over the years so many catastrophic cases where someone trying to save some money and they didn't, and they're out of luck. There's just no way they can bring a claim.
As far as bringing a claim against, if you work for a city or a municipality, does that complicate things?
No. All the municipalities are required, just like any regular employer, to have workers' comp coverage. Sometimes they'll be self-insured, or they'll pool, several counties will come together and pool their monies and be self-insured. But those self-insurance pools act just like an insurance company. They have adjusters and attorneys.
What if the doctor says, okay, you're okay to go back to work for light duty, but whatever job you are on doesn't have light duty? What do you end up doing then?
If they can't offer you light duty, then you should be paid your regular benefits for being out of work.
And a lot of times you'll have the insurance company pushing the employee back to work, and there really isn't any light duty available, and the employer thinks they have to make up a position for light duty, but the employer isn't required to do that. If there is no light duty, there isn't, and the employee should remain on the weekly disability pay until they can return.
We see sometimes that employers and their insurer butt heads over that. So, but if they just don't have any light duty, no desk type position, then
Right.
they're not required to offer it.
Tell you what, we're going to wrap things up on that. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate your phone calls. If you have any last-minute questions on workers' comp that we did not answer, you can email us. Our email address is legalaccess@wmbfnews.com. Go ahead and email us on this, and we'll answer you off the air. Or if you have any questions about next week's topic, which is criminal law, if you want to get them in advance, and then we'll answer those next Thursday. Again, the same email address, legalaccess@wmbfnews.com. For Josh Koshin, Mike Smith, and Rick O'Neill, I'm Dave Priest. We'll see you next Thursday. Criminal law is going to be our topic then, right here on Legal Access. Brought to you by the Maguire
You may wish
Law.
to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar Lawyer Referral Service, toll-free at 1-800-868-2284. If you are currently represented by an attorney, you should direct all legal questions to your attorney. The nature of any legal issue may depend on a multitude of factors. Therefore, the information provided in this program is purposefully broad and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact and retain an attorney in order to obtain case-specific legal advice.